welcome. Welcome to the Comic Corner. My name is Damon. He is Fat Thor. Buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to talk some comics. We got some fire issues out this week. Some surprising ones, too. Like, especially if people watch and listen to us regularly, especially for my picks, I think people are going to be a little surprised this week. So I'm excited to get into it, man.
We got a lot of events. We got a lot of DC. We got a lot of Boom. We got a lot of indies. We got a lot of everything. Let's go through the rundown. Countdown hits 0. When one event ends, a new one begins, and Absolute Power Ground Zero has begun finally off the heels of House of Brainiac. We'll chat about all 3 issues of that because they all connect with each other. Anastasia Zatanna is here in reverse because that's her thing. And Grimm's coolest character yet. Stephanie Phillips has introduced a character in Grimm that, love it. Absolutely love it. We'll chat about that later. But first, we have our trio off the top of DC Books. I'll chat about these because there's kind of like a lot that happened this week. We've been talking about House of Brainiac ever since that event began, ever since it was announced, actually, way back essentially at New York Comic-Con last year. It's finally come to a conclusion. 6 main issues of this mini event, if you want to call it that, lasted 3 months. And overall, I've liked it. I thought it took a little while to get to where it's going, but now that I see the ending of it, it all makes sense. Action was the 5th issue, and then Superman was the 6th issue. They actually very small. If you see us on the YouTube channel, you can see on the top right, it's 5, 6. They actually tell you which order to read this in, which great, much appreciated. Very much needed that because if you go in blind, you're like, I don't know what to read. They at least tell you on the numbers on the top, which is very, very cool. The action issue, solid, set us up for Superman. That's exactly what it was. It was supposed to set you up for the grand finale. The grand finale of it all, though, dude. The final 2 pages gave us 2 completely different directions that the Superman book is going to be going in, I assume, throughout the rest of the year. And I cannot wait to see these 2 directions because there's a huge kind of cliffhanger teaser with Lex from the fallout of House of Brainiac. And then we have a big teaser of something to come down the road, which I'm sure will start be making its way throughout the interwebs as the week goes on. But naturally, this event, mini event if you want to call it that, along with the failsafe stuff that's been going on in the Batman books, as well as everything going on with Amanda Waller through Titans and Green Arrow and the Dreamer Suicide Squad books, Amanda Waller has just been plotting all over the place. That is what Absolute Power Ground Zero is beginning. The Absolute Power event. This is the big event of the summer, and this House of Brainiac was just leading into it. So if you read Action into Superman into Ground Zero, you would be perfectly set to go. If you haven't been reading anything Superman or anything with the House of Brainiac event that we just had, you can just pick up Ground Zero and go from there. That's what this issue is. This is the precursor to the big event to set you up for everything going forward. It tells you this is the failsafe stuff. Everything going on with Batman and how he kind of made a literal failsafe to if Batman were to ever go crazy, we have a failsafe for that. But naturally, things like that happen. The backup plan went bad and they had to deal with that. And that's a factor. Amanda Waller, the biggest factor of this all. Plotting, planning everything here. And everything that's been going on in the House of Brainiac, we mentioned with the Queen Brainiac aspect. She is also going to be playing a big factor in the Absolute Power event, as well as we saw kind of more of her and her upbringing into Ground Zero from the fallout of House of Brainiac. This is all very carefully constructed. This was all very meticulously planned, and I'm really enjoying seeing all these elements now. AF and I talked about it a lot, and I'm sure we'll talk about it next week or whenever he gets to this point when those books hit South Africa. The continuity of DC has been mostly good. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. If things are going on here, we're just kind of like ignoring that. But for the most part, amongst its main titles, it's been very, very good. And you can start seeing all these books planned to perfection. I'm very excited for this event. I do read the majority of all of these kind of like main issues that the tie-ins are going to between Wonder Woman, between Superman at least, and I will be picking up the main Absolute Power books as well. But this does set us up for this big event. I'm excited for it. I think it was very well done. Thumbs up.
Hell yeah, I'm excited to jump into it. You know, obviously, I read a lot more Marvel than I do DC. I've been reading more DC lately, even though I am behind on like the House of Brainiac stuff and all that. But I mean, Damon, you know me. I'm a really big fan of just like, how do I want to put this? Like, culminative
Culmination. Yep.
culmination storytelling, right? And like having all these, different issues and different storylines kind of come together for one big event, and even having House of Brainiac kind of lead into that. I love that kind of stuff so much. I love bringing old things back and like tying things together. So just the whole premise of this, I am 100% on board for. And also when I was looking at the, preview pages for it, just the all-star cast of writers and artists that are on this issue is like, that's enough alone to get me to buy the book. And then hearing all the great story that's in it, I mean, my interest is just at the top of peak. Even though I'm not even reading the DC events, this is one I definitely can see myself jumping into.
Yeah, absolutely jump into Ground Zero as your starter issue because that's the whole intention of it is to welcome people, to bring people into this. Literally give them, this is what's happening. Cool, you got
That's
it.
what I need.
Go for it, right? That's what
Hold my
this
hand.
is. You have this Ground Zero issue is set up into 3 different parts. You have the Amanda Waller part, you have the Superman House of Brainiac part, and then you essentially also have the failsafe part. And Zdarsky came in to write the failsafe part because he's been writing Batman. Joshua Williamson kind of came in to help write the Brainiac stuff because he's doing that, and Mark Waid doing the Waller stuff because she is the key of this all. Nicole Mann's also credited with a writing credit here too because Dreamer plays a pretty big part of this. And if anyone read the the Suicide Squad Dream Team book, which I read the first issue and I unfortunately didn't keep up with it, but hey, that's what this issue gave me was this is what happened for the rest of that little miniseries. Like, okay, that's where I ended up going. Cool. I'm all caught up and ready to go. I really appreciate these books. It gets me excited for the event. I'm all in. Let's go.
Boom.
Boom, 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 boom. From one DC kind of event to something completely different because this is Black Label, right? Black Label is its own thing. And that's what a lot of people really love about Black Label books is because you're able to tell a completely new, different story without having to worry about continuity because this is almost like an Elseworld type of book. And this is Zatanna Bring Down the House. We haven't had a Zatanna book in a hot minute. And first of all, the art in here. The art in this book by Javier Rodriguez is incredible. It's perfect for a Zatanna book. It is absolutely perfect. The art style, the colors, everything about it, gorgeous, beautiful, love it. A plus. Marika Tamaki with the writing on this told a great story so far. It got me intrigued. Almost the pitch around this is Zatanna is running a magic show in Las Vegas. She refuses to call it magic. They're tricks. Why is that? We go back into a certain point in her life where something happened and now things are slowly starting to catch back up to her. So it's a very cool book. Black Label, so it is 17 plus. It's a little bit slightly more mature, not like
A little spicy.
very slight, very slight. Nothing crazy that we will be talking about later in this show. But it's got a little PG-13 spice to it, honestly, and it's just great. I really, really, truly enjoyed this issue. I'll be picking up the second one and the third one and keeping up with this so long as I continue to enjoy it. But highly recommend this, even if you don't know anything about Zatanna. very welcoming, as many Black Label books are, because that's the whole point of them. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's what makes me excited for it is like I know Zatanna. I've read her in, multiple things before, but I am by no means an expert or anything about her character at all. So to me it's exciting to have a new fresh number 1 Black Label. Like I don't have to worry about what's going on with, at Ground Zero or any of that. Like I can just enjoy this one story with Zatanna, and that's very exciting for me. So I'm excited to check this out for sure. The last thing I read was Zatanna was I don't even remember the name of the book. It was just like last year though. It was her and the robot dude from Dennis Culver. He wrote a little
Mm,
series with I forget the robot guy's name from Doom Patrol. But that was really fun. And that, like I said, being not an expert of Zatanna, I really enjoyed that. So I'm excited to dive into some Zatanna, dude. It's gonna be fun. And I'm excited to see the art. I'm kind of upset that you didn't bring any interiors to show off because now I want to see this art.
that's called the tease, man. You got to pick up the
Yeah,
book to see the interiors, because golly, man,
exactly.
they are very, very, very good. It's just stunning, gorgeous work. Something I will bring up about this book is it's kind of funny. I do like some humor in my books, and Tamaki made Zatanna pretty humorous, and that's enjoyable because I kind of like seeing her tell off some people downtown who are trying to buy her, magic show building, and she's just like, "Nah, screw you, bye." Enjoyed that. I enjoy a little sass with my Zatanna. I think it's kind of needed with her character, and Tamaki writes her perfectly there. Going to a completely different company. This is a book that you brought up this week.
It
How
is,
about
yes.
this? Gatchaman, #1.
Gatchaman, dude. Yeah, so this is coming out from Mad Cave, writer on his Cullen Bunn, who I am just a really big fan of. So as soon as I saw his name on this, I was like, I gotta check this out. And obviously Bunn is mostly a horror guy. He's known for his horror work. So again, seeing that this was more of like a superhero kind of genre for him instantly excited me. And I will admit too that I am not familiar with this franchise. I'm pretty sure that this got like Gatchaman is like a Japanese anime and has like, other things besides this comic which I'm not aware of. But coming at this as someone fresh and not knowing anything about this franchise or this world, I really, really enjoyed this first issue. It is just like pure fun Saturday morning cartoon is how I would describe it. And again, I am not like an anime person or very knowledgeable, so I'm sure there's probably better references to make to compare this book to. But for me, like I said, just Saturday morning cartoon. You got a fun colorful cast of heroes and they're fighting this big kind of alien monster destroying a city. It's just classic comic book kind of stuff, and I just really loved that. And I thought the art was fantastic and also the colors. So hold on, I have it on here. I need to look up the colorist real quick. Carlos Lopez is on colors on this, I think. And so vibrant, literally jumping off the page. And I'm just excited to see where this goes. Like we're talking about, Zatanna and maybe not Zatanna, but like Ground Zero, how it's kind of culminating all these stories together. And even, we've both been loving Blood Hunt over in Marvel, which is also very like a bunch of kind of things going on. So this was just kind of very refreshing, just fun read, and just something that I just really, really enjoyed. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Bunn is doing a great job with the more comical. Like I said, it literally feels like I'm sitting in front of the TV for a Saturday morning cartoon, like Power Rangers or something. And that just hits the nostalgia vein for me so good. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking this out, especially if you're a fan of anime stuff like that. Because I'm sure, again, with my limited knowledge, if you are a fan of that stuff, there's probably a lot more in here that you will love about it that I'm just not privy to. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I do wonder what the like the longtime fans of like the franchise or whoever who may be picking this up would think about this
Hmm.
too, because you're coming at this at like two completely different points. You as someone who has no knowledge, no anything with this, so you're being introduced to these characters, and I would imagine that you are introduced to them in a way that you're able to like comprehend it in within a single issue.
It's very quick. Like it's just like here are these people, and this is another thing. Kind of going to the Saturday morning cartoon of it all. They kind of break down each character, but imagine if it was like in a cartoon. So like one panel is like like the profile of the character, and it's like, this is so and so master, master kung fuist or whatever it is, and just like the structure of it, the way they put it, it just was really fun, and like I said, it just gave me that kind of nostalgia feeling. And also too, when you have like the thought bubbles, or like the what you know what I'm talking about. I forget the word of it, but the boxes for like the not dialogue but transition
Like
text.
the narration boxes, yeah.
Yeah, narration, thank you. But it had, again, small little detail, but it has like a little picture of the person next to the text. So like
Oh.
almost, again, kind of reminds me of like Pokemon or something like that, like when the things come up. So yeah, just really fun, and like I said, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, looks fun. It looks colorful. Like you said, manga. Well, not manga, like very anime-esque. So yeah,
And the
definitely
art,
check.
I would say, I don't
But
mean to cut you off. Just one last thing. I just with the anime kind of thing, the art definitely reflects that too. Again, not
yeah,
being kind of an expert of that world, the art looks like it would be from an anime, but like, transferred onto comic page. So that really was awesome too.
something that is not anime at all in the slightest.
Oh yeah. I cannot. I need to catch up on this so bad, dude. Like so bad.
You got to. You got to. This is Something is Killing the Children, number 38. James Tiny and the Fourth River there. Deladera. Man, I just love this book. I love this series. I love everything about this series. I have yet to read a bad issue of Something is Killing the Children. Yes, there are issues, and we're kind of like a little run right now, a little arc right now, where for the larger plot, nothing's really happening. It's kind of the point. We're looking back on Erica Slaughter's life after like a horrific arc with her, where she just like ended it like the lowest point where it was like yeesh. So we're kind of like looking back, and I assume we're at a spot with her now, and in the storytelling that these elements, these characters that are being introduced, and all this stuff that we're kind of like going flashbacks into, will probably play a factor later down the line, and will probably be reintroduced in maybe like issue 41 or 42, whenever like the next arc begins. I'm assuming, because right now we're just kind of like going through like certain small spots where we get to see Erica and what makes her different than like the rest of the hunters in this order, who do not care about civilians, who only care about like protecting the secrets that they held. And she's like, yeah, I care about these people. I don't want them to get hurt. All this stuff, right? She's very different in that regard, and that's what makes her cooler. Like it's what makes her stand out from everyone else. Everyone else is just completely heartless, and she at least has some compassion. Is this the best issue of this series? No. It's because again, not much is happening right now, but I will continue to read this every single month because I do love this series. And even though we are in like those smaller moments, and those sometimes can be some of my favorite issues in any ongoing series, are the ones, those single issues between arcs where we're just kind of like looking at a day in the life of a character,
Mhm.
right? We had like a Doctor Strange issue from Jed McKay about like a year or two ago. After the first arc ended, it was literally just like once a year, Doctor Strange and Dormammu have to spend a day
I
with each
love that
other,
issue, dude. I
and
love
it's
that
great
one. Yeah.
because nothing really happened in that issue in the long run, but you get to see kind of like more of what makes both of those characters tick. And that's exactly what this whole arc essentially is just a collection of those little one-shot stories, little missions that she's had in the past. So I've been really enjoying this. I don't think this issue, I've been saying this about this arc, I don't think this issue is great if you're just trying to get into the series. The last two, sure, if you just want to pick it up and try to get a taste of what Something Killing the Children is like, those last two issues, absolutely. This one, maybe not so much because it kind of like reveals some things that are like kept a little later on in the first like arc or two, the first two volumes. So you don't want that to be kind of spoiled for you because those are kind of like cool little surprises.
Mhm.
But definitely the first two of this arc, so issues 36 and 37. 38, we're just kind of continuing it. We're going along. I'm enjoying it. The art, again, Werther's art, fantastic. I love this series. So we
Well, and
really
what
need to
is
get you
it?
up to speed on this, man.
I know. I think I have. I gotta check my emails. I think I have like the collection or whatever lying
Mm.
around somewhere that I need
Oh,
to
absolutely,
just
man.
dive into. But I mean, what you said, it's what, 38, 32,
38.
38. Like, I mean, when you got 38 issues, some of them are gonna be, I don't want to say worse than others, but like you said, like sometimes you got to set the pieces up, right? And I always think of it like TV shows, right? Like,
Yeah.
we just binged through The Sopranos, right? 6 seasons. Not every single episode is the best episode ever, right? But
Sure.
it all kind of adds to the overall thing. So when you have a long running series like this, like you said, not every issue is going to be like world breaking, but you need those pieces to get to the world breaking stuff, right? Because then when you get
Mhm.
to the next major thing, it's going to be like, oh, I see why we spent that issue doing this or whatever,
Yeah.
whatnot. So yeah, I, like you said, I need to catch up so bad. This is one of these books that not only have you been praising, but it's literally, I don't think I've ever seen someone say anything bad about this series. Like in the last 3-4 years, however long it's been going, I've never once seen someone like, yeah, I checked it out, it wasn't for me. Everyone that I know has read it is absolutely loving it and is not even like a super fan of it. So
Mhm.
while I haven't read it myself, I'm going to catch up, and I can confidently say that I know that you're on game with all this, because like I said, I have not heard one bad thing about this book.
Eisner Award winner for a reason.
Yeah.
It really is. It's an
They
Eisner
don't
Award
just
winner for a reason.
they don't just give those things out.
No, 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 no. It's great. Check it out. If you have been enjoying the series, again, another issue just to pick up, keep the story going. If you haven't, well, like I've been saying before, Tynion and Deladera like to take some breaks between their arcs, and those are good times to catch up so you can start picking, the issues up off the shelves. So, good time to do that right now, honestly. Kind of keeping the creepy vibes going. What we got
Yes.
here? Principles of
Oh,
Necromancy.
Principles of Necromancy. I have been loving this book so much. This is going to be coming from Magma Comics, newer publisher that just came out with a couple, like 4 or 5 different titles. But this one, I got to know just to any of the other titles because they're great as well. Shout out Steve Orlando on Scale Trade. We've talked about that before. But Principles of Necromancy, that it has the sauce, dude. Like, it is so good. First 2 issues are crazy, brutal, both take place through different perspectives, and then this third one follows that same kind of process. We're going through a completely different perspective of the story, and we're also in this issue really expanding on this world that we're in. So this takes place in kind of a fantasy world, but one where like no one's holding your hand through this world, right? It kind of just puts you in it, and it's like, yeah, there's these people, these people. So this third issue kind of opens up the world a little bit more, and you get to see more of the so the main character is Dr. Jacob Eyes, and we get to see some of the other doctors in this medieval world, and it's just so good. The way that they're unfolding the story, I really, really enjoy, because kind of like we're talking about with these other books with, Ground Zero and all this, to me it's kind of a perfect combination of the two concepts we've been talking about today, in the sense of each issue feels very standalone, in the sense of you could read issue 2 without having read issue 1 and have a great time. But if you have read, like, there is a story going through all these issues, right, and like kind of culminating together. So I just think it's like very creative and smart the way that they're telling the story, and I love it. And I gotta shout out to Amon Winkle, just nominated for, I forget what award, some award for art, but his art in this book is just continues to impress issue after issue. And I think we talked about this before. This is actually his first book of interiors, which makes it even more impressive. And the kind of grotesque body horror, along with the kind of more nuanced kind of detail work, it's just, again, I can't praise this book enough. If you guys are fans of fantasy, horror, all that kind of stuff, you have to check this book out. Like, you have to do it. If you trust my opinion on comics, you watch me, hear me talk about it every week, trust me, pick up this book. You'll love it.
I got to, because everything you said, it's just I've been in a ridiculous horror kick. But whether
Oh,
even now
dude, then
movies
this
at
is
this
for
point.
you.
So I got to. I finally finished Silver Coin, or at least caught up on it because it's not officially finished yet. It's just been on a very long hiatus. But I love that book. You know, Somebody's Killing the Children has just kind of like slasher vibes, and we'll be talking about a book later that is the horror book coming out. So I got to get on this. I got to. Would
Yeah.
you say it's more like body horror than anything? Is that kind of like the vibe that
I
it's going
I'd
for?
say like it definitely plays a huge role into it, like the kind of visual horror of it, but the
Yeah.
actual like story is very much kind of mystery, kind of like, fantasy alchemy sort of
Hmm.
stuff. And it's, again, every issue takes place from a different perspective, so it's kind
Hmm.
of one where we're not really sure what this guy's motivations are, right? We're not really sure what this dude is up to, and we're getting little kind of clues as he interacts with these different people. So like first issue, he meets these barbarians, and so it takes place from the barbarians perspective, and we learn about Jacob Eyes through that lens. Next issue, it takes place from perspective of this little girl who just lives in this like random town, and Jacob Eyes comes to this town, and so we're learning about the character through his interactions with these other people, which again I think is just a really cool way to like lay the story out, and keeps me on my toes every week, because it's one of those, you really can't predict what this dude's gonna do next, right? Like you think but then it surprises you where he's more, gentle and actually like uh what's the word? Like nice. Yeah, for lack of a better word, nice, right? But then he's also doing this crazy experimentation and all this. So it's just really great storytelling, art amazing. And yeah, if you're on a horror kick right now, this is the book for you for sure.
See, you just sold me on it. So now I gotta go read it. Now I gotta go read it.
That's what I do.
A book. I won't call this horror, but it's got some really cool aspects to it. This is Grimm from Stephanie Phillips Flaviano from Boom Studios. This book has expanded so much from where it began within the first 4, 5, 6 issues. We are now on issue 18. This world has expanded, and I kind of have to go into some spoilers here because it's almost impossible to talk about this book at this point,
Mhm.
like, and not. But it's in a world where it's like, okay, we have Reapers who aren't the Grim Reaper, but they are Reapers, and they'll come and take you away into the afterlife. And death is personified, life is personified, the fates personified. We're mixing
Mhm.
all these different types of mythology from death from all over Roman, Greek, traditional American. Like, like we have
Ooh.
all this stuff kind of like mixing together into this pot that is like this world of Grimm. And Stephanie Phillips and Flaviano introduced a character in this that I think is just by far one of the coolest characters they've come up with. And to go back a little further, something that Stephanie Phillips and Flaviano have done in this book continuously since its beginning is the inclusion and the importance of music, musical lyrics, and actual songs throughout the books, throughout some issues. Some issues, not every issue kind of has like a song theme, but some issues do. This one is Johnny Cash's Ain't No Grave. So you see lyrics from the song go around the page, and there's no longer words at a certain point when you're describing this character, you're just seeing it. So what I love doing with these books when this happens is you grab the song, you play it on your phone while you're reading the page, and it's just, you get the vibe, you get it, and you're immersed into it. This right here, this character that was introduced, is because, like I said, we have life and we have death. Right now, death is MIA, gone. There is no death. So what happens when there's no death? Nobody dies. Kind of a problem in this world. So life is kind of going around, and in the past, life created a herald named Harold. This is Harold right here on a motorcycle. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. This is the
Oh
Harold right
yeah.
here, the Herald of Life on the motorcycle. And Life always just kind of thought this character was fascinating because he is almost like a Robin Hoodie esque type of character where he will do, like, do bad things, but for the better of good. And Life thought that was an interesting thing that Life hadn't really seen up to that point. So now that people aren't dying, we have a character right now, because he's a Herald of Life, who can't die,
Mhm.
and what his role is in this entire saga going on now throughout this world is very, very interesting. But again, the musical aspect, like whenever I start seeing like lyrics go around a page, I'm like, all right, what song are we messing around with this time? Grab it on Spotify, you play it, you're reading them, like you're starting to see moments in Harold's life as like the Ain't No Grave song is going around. You're seeing moments pass through of like everything that he's kind of been since the Western days
Mhm.
is when he kind of began, and now he's just like this cool biker dude. Like, this book's
Dude,
so cool, man.
I don't think I have ever been sold more on a book than I am right now on this book. Like, that's the way you're describing it. It ticks all of the boxes for me. I love my mythology. I love that
Mm,
kind of stuff. And also I am a huge music nerd as well. I Before all this comic book stuff, I wanted to be a guitar player. I took all sorts of theory. I almost went to Berkeley for guitar performance.
wow.
So having that musical element in it is just like, no pun intended, music to my ears. I think this just sounds absolutely incredible. Like, dude, we gotta wrap this up right now so I can go and catch up, because that sounds amazing. And before you even started telling me about the book, I was gonna say this cover is
Gorgeous.
awesome. Like, this cover grabs me immediately. So I mean, oh, geez, I'm like, my mind is swimming right now. I think that sounds absolutely incredible. Issue 18, so that
Hmm.
make me even more excited. I got a lot to catch up on. So hell yeah, dude, go read this book. I'm gonna read it for sure right when we get off of here.
I don't remember because it's been so long, and I've been reading this since issue one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if this was announced as a mini and then expanded into an ongoing, but you can almost see that in some ways because the world starts so small and the mystery of this main character starts so small, and it just explodes into something
Mm-hmm.
so much larger. And I will say, I like to be honest. For about there's a few issues where it kind of lost me a little bit because I'm not big into the mythology, and I wasn't into this book for the mythology aspect of it, bringing in the fates and all these other aspects because
Mm-hmm.
that stuff goes over my head. All the Greek mythology stuff goes straight over my head. So I was like, I don't know, like I don't know anymore. These last few issues, previous issue was a solo story about a character that we've had since the beginning. But these last few issues, like, oh yeah, no, I'm so back into this. I'm
Mm.
so back into
I'm
this.
so
And
excited, dude.
again, the art, Flaviano's art, incredible, gorgeous. The colors here fit the vibe perfectly. It's great. Highly recommend if you haven't been reading this, absolutely do so. Our final book of the week, very different. Very different. We've been praising this book since we started reading this from Vault. This
Mhm.
is Slash presents Deathstalker from Tim Seeley. We didn't realize when we were reading this until the very end. It's over.
Yeah.
It's only 3 issues. And I was like, no. Like we feel like we just like it was like I feel like we finally like we got here, we're cool, like we're
Mhm.
in this world, and then it's over.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, that
Man.
was a little disappointing, honestly. Like you said, wow, we've been loving this book, and I really enjoyed this third issue.
Yeah.
I don't really have much criticism about it, but when I saw it just at the end, not to be continued, I was a little disappointed because, like you said, at least for me, it really felt like we were just kind of getting cooking with the gas, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
first issue, we're introduced to this world, we're introduced to these characters. Second issue plays off of that, and we kind of are getting more into the actual plot of what the book is. And then this third issue just kind of wraps everything up. And I'm not saying it does it in
Yeah.
a bad way, does it in a good way, but I want more. I mean, which again, I guess is a good criticism to have, because the
Mm-hmm.
reason I was disappointed is because I want more of it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just kind of took me by surprise that this is it. But luckily for us, which I'm sure you already have locked and loaded ready, but this isn't going to be the end of Deathstalker completely. He is going
It
to be
is not.
showing up in another book coming soon. So I am excited to move forward with this character. I'm glad the character is not completely done.
Yes, so this story in a way will be continuing from Vault, but not in a way that you'd imagine, because there's another book that's been going on right now called Barbarian. We haven't been keeping up with Barbarian, but Deathstalker versus Barbarian is the next book. So we get to see those two, if you've been keeping up with both, go up against each other. Two
Mhm.
barbarian types, right? Like, that's going to be. Deathstalker's very over the top ridiculous. Barbarian, same in a way, but not to this extent. So that'll be a very interesting
Yeah.
clashing of heads. But yeah, this book's been so fun. Over the top, ridiculous, 80s popcorn. We've said all the things about it.
Mhm.
This issue continues it. I think we both just kind of wanted, it was like, oh, we saw like the pieces in play. We thought it could be played out for a few more issues. Let the mystery
Mhm.
unfurl. Let this like villain that's kind of been created, like let him grow to a bigger point. And then it's like, oh, it's done.
Yeah, I
Crap.
thought we were for sure
Wow.
gonna get at
Dang.
least a couple more issues of
Yeah.
like just kind of random fantasy adventures with
Yeah.
Deathstalker, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, they did a great job with the 3 issues of the story that they
Hmm.
told. And like you said, it's just fun fantasy over the top. Like if you are loving House of the Dragon right now, all that kind of stuff, definitely check this out for sure. It definitely hits that niche. And I haven't been reading Barbaric and I don't know much about it, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that the book with like the axe that like
Yes.
drinks human blood and stuff? So it's like
Yeah.
knowing that that's where he's going next, I'm
Yeah.
all for it. That's going to be so fun. Seeing those two interact, I think will be great. And I'm hoping that it'll lead to more Deathstalker or, maybe Deathstalker becoming a permanent staple in Barbaric or either way, I enjoy the character. I like this world. I'm a big fantasy nerd as it is,
Hmm.
and especially when you take it to that kind of over, like you take something we know like fantasy, kind of step it up a little notch. I'm all for that. So yeah, I hope we get more Deathstalker for sure. Shout out Tim Seeley and Slash because the great premise, great way to lay out the story for us, and yeah.
Cool introduction. I've never like gotten any Deathstalker stuff prior to this, so it's a cool
Mhm.
introduction. In the end, you kind of find out this is the story of Deathstalker in a way. So pretty cool, pretty fun, pretty exciting. We hope for more. We're done with reviews. We have something a little special. We have some preview pages from my most anticipated book of 2024, which is Hello Darkness, coming out in like god a month from now,
Mhm.
guys. Like it's crazy. This book is so close to coming out. I've been saying for a while now, we've been talking about anthologies this, anthologies that. It's like, oh man, I kind of bang. Long story short, Boom Studios is giving it to us. We have our horror anthology. Here's some variant covers of them. You could very clearly see we have a Jemmy Prison one and a Peach Momoko. Like
Shout out
gorgeous,
Peach.
creepy variant covers. Love those. And some first looks at the first pages. We have so many stories in this book. The one on the bottom for our audio listeners, we got a creepy little body horror story from our friend Steve Orlando, man.
Yeah, I had to do like a three double takes on this page when I was like, wait, what? and then I
Yeah,
had to
oh
read the
golly.
description for it because I was like, wait, what is this?
It is a hand coming out of a stomach. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of visual gags because that is just set up for it. But, we got some good body horror there. We got some good body horror there out of it. We got some more too. And that's what I love about anthologies. We have a book from Something is Killing the Children here, a quick short story in
Ooh.
here. So maybe a little dabble into that for those who really enjoy those stories, like me, or maybe for someone like you who hasn't read it, kind of
Yeah.
grab you in and bring you into that world a little bit. What I'm really excited for, which I had no idea she was involved in this, which is Sarah Anderson, who's a cartoonist. And you may know Sarah Anderson, anyone listening, from just like the cute little fun, simple cartoons that you may see on like Instagram that are a little meme worthy. She does a little bit of horror stuff. She had a book. I can't remember the name of it, but I actually picked it up in my library real quick and I flew through it. It was a bunch of short stories of all her cartoons about like a vampire girl and a werewolf who are like in a relationship with each other. So like she clearly has that as an interest,
Hmm.
but we have this creepy lighthouse story coming from her as well. We have one about like some horror bowling lane aspect. There's just like so many things that this book is given. These aren't even all the preview pages, by the way. There's a lot of stories in this first issue that I'm very, very, very excited about. Buddy, is there like any, like, out of everything we made, maybe the Steve Orlando story probably sticking out to you?
Probably Steve Orlando, but honestly, the lighthouse, the one you're just talking about
Mm.
right now, that sounds interesting to me. I think lighthouses are just creepy locations, right? And like I, those kind of places just make my mind go crazy, right? Like it's like what could be happening there? You could go like supernatural route, like monster, sea monstery. So I think
Yeah.
like that might sound lame, but when you said lighthouse, I was immediately like, oh, okay, I'm there.
Yeah.
So that really sounds interesting to me. But I mean, you know, we're big fans of Steve Orlando over here. So knowing that he's on it, I am absolutely excited for that one too, and just intrigued because like what the hell is going on with my boy's hand over there. So yeah, I think I'm excited for Steve because I'm a fan of his work. I'm excited for Sarah's because of the premise. Like that
Hmm.
premise really grabs me.
We have stories from Garth Ennis, James Tynion, Brian Azzarello, just like name a few that are like in this book as well. It's
Rock stars.
stacked crew. I mean, R.L. Stein's about to have a story in this thing as well. Like, I mean, we're talking
What? We got Stein in
legendary.
this?
We're talking
Come on now.
legendary status on this point. Like, you know, I am fairly newish ish to like the horror genre when it comes to books because I've just been like absorbing so much of it. But we're living in a great age right now of just like spooky comic books. And it's
Mhm.
not just from like, Boom Studios as well. Like EC's coming back and they're bringing back their horror anthology, their terror book. We have Creepshow making a comeback with Chip
Yeah.
Zdarsky as well. There's, I mean, and this is a genre. This and sci-fi, I'd say, are like two genres. Superhero books as well, obviously, but
Mhm.
genres that just like have never gone away in the industry.
Yeah.
They've always had a presence. So it's a good time. Like we like been saying, man. New golden platinum age, millennium age, whatever you want to call this for comics,
Yeah.
man. We're just in it. We're in it.
And speaking of horror books, before we get out of here, I do want to shout out very
Mm.
quickly other books that I have been absolutely loving, and I'm kicking myself right now because I can't remember the publisher. Maybe it might be Vault, honestly, but the Universal Monster books that have been coming out.
Oh
So
yes, I think those are
Image, yes,
Image.
Image, they're
Yes, I say
Image,
that
but
very confidently.
yeah, right. No, they're definitely Image, but I mean, the Dracula with James Tynan was
Mhm.
phenomenal. I've talked about it on the show before, but everyone needs to go get that just for the art alone. So good. But I've also been really loving the new Creature from the Black Lagoon from Ram
Yeah.
V. That has been awesome as well. And you know, we're speaking of all these horror books. At least for me, like my love of horror really began with the Universal monsters like Dracula and you know the Wolfman and all that stuff. So I just have a love for that stuff, and I really am enjoying these kind of new takes on these classic monsters and these classic stories like Dracula. Like that's one of the most classic stories of all time, and the way James was able to play with that story and make it fresh and new, so great. And that translates also to the Creature of the Black Lagoon, who is
Mhm.
also getting this kind of new treatment, new story treatment, but also respects everything that came beforehand. It just I like we're talking about horror books, so like I said, I had to shout those out really quickly. And we're also going to be getting a Frankenstein one. I'm pretty sure we're getting an Invisible Man one at some point. So
Jeez.
it's really great. If you love that kind of stuff, definitely hop on the Universal Monster books.
And shout out the Universal Dark Worlds thing that's going on at their new theme park because more
Oh
stuff is
yeah.
coming out about that, dude. Oh, that looks so good. That looks so good. Shout out Ryan from Agents of Fandom. Him and I go back and forth on theme park stuff all the time. We're both two big theme park nerds, and like the stuff that they're doing with that is just so cool and so original. Things that we haven't seen before. What's coming out next week that I'll be keeping an eye out for? We got the return of public Domain by Chip Zdarsky. If you have
Ooh.
not read Public Domain, if you are watching the Comic Corner, I assume you like comics in some way, or you're interested in comics. If you want a book that is just a commentary, a pure, no, nothing held back commentary on the comic book industry between like the comics themselves, the businesses, the movie aspect, this is the book for you. And Chip's world within this is expanding too because it's kind of like a story about a father and his two sons, and how the father used to be kind of like an artist. You got a little bit of like a Stan Lee aspect to it, and just kind of like, some people get screwed over in their past, and now we are getting a kind of like the book within the book aspect. We're getting the actual the domain, which is like their Superman in that world.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting that like as a physical book soon. But Public
Ooh.
Domain, which is the world, coming out next week. So very excited about that. Poison Ivy has been fantastic. I believe there's one more. Oh no, there isn't one more. We're getting a special 25th issue. I didn't even see this. Oh, that's so exciting. I thought
Oh
this
my
next issue
God.
of Poison Ivy was going to be the last. It is not. We have one more coming out in September. Oh,
Ooh. Run to
thank
your comic
goodness.
shop, people.
I was about to go on a whole tangent about how this is the end of the Poison Ivy run, but we have a new issue coming out in September. That is very exciting. Doctor Strange has been great, and Blood Hunt has been continuing. We'll talk more Blood Hunt next week. And of course, Birds of Prey has been super cool, super fun. Those are comics next week. Buddy, anything that you're just kind of keeping an eye out that you know of that you're picking up?
I mean, right now I'm just like full in on the Blood Hunt stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
what's called Doctor Strange. I'm insanely we talked I wasn't able to pick up my books this week, but I'm just insanely excited for the new Moon Knight, Vengeance of Moon Knight. I have been loving that. Unfortunately, which I'm so pissed about, Blood Hunt 4 got kind of spoiled for me,
Yeah.
and something major to do with Moon Knight. So that pissed me
Mm-hmm.
off a little bit. But as much as it made me mad, it also made me super excited because we've talked about it before. I have been singing the praises of Moon Knight since, for 3 years now. This book's been going on
That
for so
run's been going
long
on for
now.
three. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it has continuously, throughout these 3 years, has maintained one of my favorite books that I pick up from my pull list. If Moon Knight is in my I will even throw it on Immortal Thor. Like
Wow. That's
if
big for
Moon Knight
you.
if Moon Knight is in my stack, it's getting read first. And like I said, it's just been so good. What Jed, why am I blanking on his name? What Jed has done with Moon Knight, the way he's, told the story, unfolded it for us, and even like started it, restarted it all in the same run. It's just masterclass of comic book storytelling. So I am beyond excited to get into Moon Knight and Doctor Strange. I didn't get last issue either. So yeah, I mean, like we talk about all the time, it's Jed's world, baby. We're just living in it, and I'm just loving everything he's doing.
One book coming out next week, I don't think I'm picking up, but some people may be interested in. Spider-Man Reign 2, number
Oh, I
one.
saw
We're
that. I know
bringing that
nothing
back,
about this.
baby.
Yeah, I know nothing about this. Like I'm sure if I Googled Spider-Man Rain, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's
Oh,
what that is. But
it's
just
like,
off the title, I'm
oh.
like, that's not. No, that's definitely not. I'm not even gonna say it because I know it's not. That's not like
It's
the One Bad Day or whatever. It's like
no, it's
that's
not One
yeah.
More Day. This is the one where MJ dies because of Peter
Oh,
and
I know what
things.
you're saying. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't know how I'm
They're
able to say
bringing
this
that
on
back,
Agents
dude.
of Fandom. Yeah, they're bringing
Yeah.
that back
Oh,
for
okay. I
Agents of
know
Fandom
exactly what
crap.
you're
Ugh.
talking about.
How do I talk about this book? That's coming back. So if you're interested in
Okay.
that, go pick it up. For me, I won't. That'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. On that note, God, that'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. Buddy, where can people find you on socials?
Everyone can find me at _Fat Thor. You can also find me at the Sons of Milnir. That is Milnir like Thor's hammer. I know that can be kind of hard to spell, but that's going to be my other podcast channel where you can catch creator interviews, deep dives into comics. A lot of the books
Mm-hmm.
that we talk about on here, we got interviews with the creators. So if you want, go check that out. But other than that, like I said, the Fat Thor, come find me. Let's talk comics. Let's talk movies. Whatever you're interested in, I'm available.
we've been cranking out content here over the Agents of Fandom Comic Corner. We have shorts available up, so if you've been watching those, thank you. We've been doing these, top 3 books to look out for of the week. We have clips from the show and then some other smaller reviews on the side as well throughout all our social channels. We have a new review up, that's our new interview up this week with the Rosenblum brothers, talking about their brand new book, Ram God, which is very cool. It's like cyberpunk, but with like almost like a Guts element. Do you remember Guts from Teen Nickelodeon era? It was like that game show with the crag and stuff. It's
yes,
like
I do.
that. It's very, very cool
Ooh,
book. So
that
definitely check that out.
just unlocked like a secret memory of my brain I didn't know I had.
Oh yeah, everyone loves the blue barracudas. So we have that interview up. Check that out because they have some really cool things to talk about their book and how they've come up with it and the long process that it took just to get this book out in the world. So definitely check that out. And you can find me on all the socials at Damon Tweet on Twitter, at Damon.Graham on Instagram, and you can follow our show on Twitter at Comic Corner Pod, where we have even earlier first looks of all these previews from Boom, as well as announcements and more interviews and all this good stuff. You can find us on Comic Corner Pod on Twitter and on TikTok as well, so long as us here in the US still have access to it. That'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. Go check out some comics, go visit your local comic shops, and until next time.